Welcome back everyone. In the last lesson we learned how to use some shortcut keys, Control, Shift, Alt while clicking on the handles to move and manipulate pictures. We learned how to use the plus symbol down below, and as we dragged our different layers onto that, it duplicated them. We were looking at the layers here. Each layer can be manipulated individually, and the layer section is very important, and we'll learn a little bit more about that now. Now that we have pictures here, what I'm going to do is delete some of them. So I'm going to drag over some of them and hit the delete button on my keyboard, and I'm going to show you how the different layers work. First of all, I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. Select a new one, a little bit bigger, check mark so it accepts the changes, a little bit bigger, check mark. And sometimes the program won't let you do stuff. It's because you need to accept changes that were made. And you can see from the pictures here that we have a top layer, and when you click on it, it highlights over in the layers menu. We can see that layer 0 copy 7 is above all the other layers, because as you drag it over, it remains the top layer. And then the second layer here, as we drag it over the others, you can tell that it's layer 2. And just like stacks of paper that cover each other, we know now that the last layer down here, if you move it underneath all the other layers, it will be hidden because it is the bottom layer. Now if you wanted this layer to be the top layer, all we need to do is drag that layer from the layer menu up to the very top, and now you can see that it is the top and moves over all the other layers. The layers are very important as you're trying to do large projects and put different cuts and edits in. It's very important to know what it does. Now if we delete a couple of these, I'm going to hit my delete button, click to select, and then delete, and you can see as they're going here. Another way to do that is to drag one of those into the garbage can, and it's the same thing as hitting your delete button. I'm going to make this layer big, and I'm going to duplicate it by dragging it down to the plus. Now hidden underneath is another layer. So looking at these two layers here, these two pictures, we can also change the opacity of those layers, which will change whether you can see through it. So if I take this picture on top and I click on the opacity and drag down, you can see now that it's becoming transparent and you can see through it as to what's underneath. If I were to do that with the fill as well, drag it down, you can see that again you're seeing through it. Let's go into opacity, drag it up. Let's go into the fill and drag it down, and again it's a similar effect of allowing you to see through one picture and to look at something else. Sometimes you only want your subject a little faded view of it. It's like a watermark, and this is a perfect way to do it. So if I delete this layer right here, take this layer and stretch it out so that it covers the entire canvas like so, then I can make it a watermark by dragging down my opacity. And then if I wanted to go to the T, I could write on here, let me change my size up here to 300, and I can type in my name. And now you can see the objects on top so much better because you've increased the opacity or decreased the opacity so that it's pretty transparent. Now when you save this graphic, you're not going to see these squares. This shows that it's the background. What you will see is the image but faded, and let me show you what that looks like. If I go File and I go Save As, and my computer is giving me some difficulty right now, so I have to go Save as Copy, but I think you can go Save As, and then you have the option of saving as a JPEG. I'm going to go Save as a Copy, and I'm going to put it into this folder here. So there's a copy of the picture we used. I'm going to change the name to 1 so it jumps to the top of the list. Notice that it is a JPEG. We could change it to a Photoshop, but we don't want to. If it's for quick viewing, we want JPEG. And we'll click Save. And whenever this comes up, make sure it's dragged to the large, and now you can get a preview of what it's really going to look like as it's faded. And I'll click OK. After it's saved, I'm going to change this picture's opacity back to 100%, and then I'm going to save it again, and we'll take a look at both copies. Save, copy right here. I'm going to go to, because you can't have the same name, and save, and OK. And you can see already what it's going to look like. So if I go into that picture, then I can see what it looks like. Let me open up another folder here so we can see it. Here we go. I'm going to drag it over here, and we'll take a look at this PC. And we've been saving our stuff in One Touch, Photos, and Animal Shots right here. Let me stretch it as we know we can do. And we're looking at the picture right here. This is picture number 1. And you can see how faded it is. Yes. And the last picture, I don't think that I changed the name of it. It was just a general picture. And it should have the word copy on there. Let me see, it might have been gone right to the bottom of my list. Yes, there it is. Let me change the file name to 2, which will move it to the very top of the list once we go to refresh. Okay, I'm going to go back and go into that folder again. So here are the 2 pictures that we have. If I double click on it, there's the faded one, and there's the one with opacity set to 100%. So 50% opacity, 100% opacity. All right. So thank you for watching the video. Stay tuned for the next video in our series. We'll see you soon.